I mean, this whole thing is a scam, and it's an insult to any intellectual, any journalist, in fact, to believe that the U.S. government will be satisfied with a minor conviction in a conspiracy to breach a password. And by the way, they are not saying in the indictment that Julian Assange hacked anything. He didn't even have access to this computer, this government computer they are talking about. They're saying Manning had access to this. Manning was the one who was trying to get more data out. And Julian was just a recipient. He's just encouraged his source to provide him with information about war crimes and about the things that the US government is trying to hide. And that is journalism in its essence, where a journalist encourages the source to provide the story, provide the information. If this is what someone can get indicted for now, then every journalist in the world should be very concerned, because you are next to be extradited if you ever write anything truthful about the war crimes and the murdering of civilians and the breaches of human rights by the US government around the world. It's so obvious what is happening here that anyone with half a brain can see straight through the strategy here. And it is just another piece of evidence how the US government operates around the world these days. It's all about tricking. It's a trickery. This indictment is designed to have an extradition process that is minimal impact, where everyone can agree, let's just send him there. It's not that bad. And it's all the strategy of, the Pentagon, the Department of Justice, Pompeo, the CIA. Once they have their hands on him, they're going to make sure he's never going to go out of jail.
I'm so sad, Kim, but I think you're right. Because I think you've laid out really what the strategy is. It's like the oil boiling the frog thing. We're just putting the frog in warm water. It's not that bad, but they're going to boil him, and that's where this is going. And I hope that I don't know how you bring that into court when they're hiding those cards, but I do think you're right. Anyone with half a brain would be able to see through this, because if you read this indictment, it is very weak.
And you would expect that journalists have half a brain. So after the initial hype that it's not all that bad, I think, they need to be very careful because with their reporting, they may open the door to a whole new era of, threats to journalism and free speech and free press. Because if this Trojan horse indictment works and they get Julian Assange to the US, you can be sure that other charges will follow. And then Donald Trump's administration will have the precedent to go after any journalist. And the dehumanization of Julian Assange, bringing these sex charges back to life, all of that in concert with Sweden is designed to make it easy to get the extradition, get the conviction in the United States, and then have a precedent against all media, against anyone who works with whistleblowers or leaks or material that the US government deems to be secret and criminalizing the reporting about it. And that is exactly what's going to happen. And if Julian falls, journalism will change around the world, not just in the US. What the US is doing with this case is they are expanding their jurisdiction to the globe. And wherever you are, in Sweden, in Finland, in Germany, you write something that the US government doesn't like, they will have an easy pathway to pull you out of your country and prosecute you in the United States.
And make that worse. Think about what's going on right now. Look at Venezuela. What would the secret documents about Venezuela show us? About this conspiracy that has been exploded in Venezuela with the so-called chief of staff of the fake president, Guaido. From his phone records and other records, they now see there's a terrorist plot by the United States to create cells in Venezuela to attack the electricity grid, the metro, government buildings, assassinate officials, including Maduro, to spend $1 billion of the money U.S. government has seized from Venezuela, using their own money to create terrorism in Venezuela. Now, if a reporter in the future has access to those documents, won't they think second, third times about publishing them? I mean, this is not new. The Iraq War documents, the Afghan, these are not new. We had the Pentagon Papers. U.S. has many targets around the world. Look at Iran. Who knows what the story of in Syria? So much of Syria is still classified. We know a little bit about the operations by President Obama to fund Islamicists to cause terror and violence in Syria, but we don't know the details. A lot of it's still secret. When will we find that out? How about Libya? All these are crimes that the U.S. is committing that the prosecution of Julian Assange is designed to make sure the public never knows what's really going on.
Well, and that's the crux of this whole case, isn't it? To keep us from the truth. How the hell have we come to this? That someone who is telling us truthful information is labeled as a criminal. Where is the crime in that? Since when has the truth become a crime? You know, and that is why it's so important that we all stand up and fight against this, because the world is going to change completely. We already see it. Politics are completely corrupt. The election process is fraudulent. You know, candidates don't get their fair shot. The people are basically handpicked prior to any primaries. You know, and then you look at you know, cases like Snowden, who are reporting the most severe conspiracies and crimes by governments against their own people by mass surveilling them and taking all their data, stealing all their data, and they call me a pirate. You know, isn't that an irony? They steal everyone's information around the world, and they call me a pirate. You know, so the thing is, what's really at stake here is the question: does truth matter? Do we as human beings have a right to the truth? We all have a desire to learn the truth. That is a human nature, you know? How can the US government expect us to sit here and accept this incredible breach of you know, basic human rights and the basic human desire to learn the truth? And truth is knowledge. And only with knowledge can we make educated decisions about who we are going to elect, if there still is a real election process and not the fake stuff that is going on in the United States now, you know, with the fake news media controlling the narrative and basically two political parties controlling all of the news media, fighting each other, fighting over their policies, but completely ignoring the desires and needs of the citizenry and the public, what they want, you know? So it's all this big game of fake news and fake politics, and ultimately all of that is benefiting the corporate world. You know, they are making the money with the secrets and the, you know, selling bombs to the US government so that they can go and kill some more people, and selling planes and rockets and all this stuff. And the you know, the corporate lobbying really controls politics these days. Politicians are not anymore working for the people. And it is this very case is so crucial for all of humanity around the world, because if truth is now a crime, we are facing a very dark time. Because if people now feel that they cannot share the truth anymore, if people feel that their communications are by default intercepted and they can't really express their ideas or their opinions freely and without fear about being mass surveilled and captured, then that changes everything. There is no democracy in that model. And if we care about our human rights, if we care about a future where our kids have the freedom to express their opinions and to share truth and speak truth, well, then we need to stand up and fight for Julian Assange, because he is the red line. If this line is crossed, we'll never get back the rights that we lose.